Hi, and welcome to this course, Docker Everything You Need to Know in Under an Hour. First, I just want to say thank you for choosing this course, and in this course we aim to teach you everything you need to know about Docker in a relatively quick time, going from running containers, stopping them, doing Docker pulls, execing onto containers, mapping volumes, and even going through Docker files. We really hope you get everything that you want to out of this course. And feel free to contact us with any questions and any feedback, and we'll be happy to implement it. Thank you.
Okay, and welcome to this first tutorial. And what we're going to be doing is installing VirtualBox and Ubuntu. So VirtualBox is like the virtualization software that we're going to use, and it's going to allow us to make our VM. The first thing I need us to do is to pop over to a web browser and just type in Oracle VirtualBox. And then the one that we want to go to is that one that says www.virtualbox.org. You might see a few other ones, but that's the best one to go to. It's the main page. And you see this big button here, download VirtualBox 6.0 in green. Yeah, give that a click. And as I'm on a Windows machine at the moment, I'm going to click the Windows host button. And we're going to save that. And there we go. And we'll just open this up. And we'll just run through the wizard here. Hit next, hit next. You can alter this as much as you want. I'm just going to keep everything default. I'm happy with it. And hit next. And that's fine. And we'll hit install. Okay, so this is just going to install. I've sped mine up a little bit. And once you're finished, we want to start it up on that reboot. Okay, so there it is. So you can see I've got a little machine here already, but that's because I already had it installed.
So what we're going to do, we're going to go over to Google here. We're going to just type in Ubuntu 20.04 to download the ISO, because that's actually what we want, the ISO here. I'm going to click the link, and we're going to select an image, and the one we want is the ISO. So we're just going to have a quick look for it here, and I think it's going to be this one here. So let's click that, and let's save that file. And it's going to come down, and we can see now that it's downloading that for us.
Don't worry about that. I thought it was going to be an action ISO, so it's going to look like that there. And if it looks like that, it's fine. There's no need to unarchive it or anything like that. So let's open up VirtualBox. We're going to hit New, and we're going to name our virtual machine. So I'm just going to call this Udemy for this purpose. We'll drop that type down to Linux, and we're going to drop down to Ubuntu 64-bit. Perfect, and hit next. So this is the virtual machine RAM that you want to give it to, the memory. I've got a fairly beastie machine, so I'm going to give it 4 gig of RAM, just about 4 gig, and hit next. Again, just hit that, do that as you desire. We want to do create virtual hard disk now, and we want a VDI. That's just the standard sort of file type. And the next thing that we want to do is about the physical disk, have that as dynamically allocated. It means it's not going to actually make a file of a massive size, it's going to just slowly grow it. And then the hard disk, I'm going to say about 30 gig is fine, and we can add another one or extend when needed. Okay, so that's that machine there, but what we now need to do is edit the settings. So we're going to hit that settings button there, or you can right click and hit settings, both work. So this is the settings of the machine. So here the shared clipboard drag and drop, change that to bidirectional. It means you can copy and paste from the host to your virtual machine. It's so important that we do that. And we can leave this fine, hit down to system, untick the floppy disk because we don't need to virtualize a floppy disk, we're not going to be using one. Processors, bang this up to 2. Acceleration, I'm just going to leave that as default. Display with a video memory, so I'm going to bang this up to about 20, 32, 36, 40, yeah, 40 sounds good. It's just how much memory we want to give it, how quick it renders stuff. Storage, so this is the important one now. So that controller ID where it's empty, we're going to click that and hit that little icon there, and what we're going to do is choose our image that we just downloaded. So don't worry if it's a WinRAR icon, it's fine. Don't extract it, just leave it, it's fine. And hit open. And that's essentially the boot disk, so it's going to say we're going to boot with Ubuntu. Audio is fine, network is fine. I'm going to leave it as a NAT. I've had some trouble with bridge adapter before. I usually use that, but to stick with NAT, it's just going to be another network from your host machine, and you'll get all the internet connectivity, so that is also fine. Serial ports, USB, shared folders, user interface. Don't really mess around too much with this. Hit OK, And then now we can start our machine. Fantastic. So you can either hit start, or again you can right click and start. I'm just going to click the button, and here we go. So Ubuntu virtual machine is now going to kick off. Okay, so here we go. It's just loading up for the first time. It might take a bit of time. I've sped some parts up in this. Okay, here we go. So we're going to start the install. So it says try Ubuntu, install Ubuntu. Obviously we want to install Ubuntu, and you can choose a language here. I'm going to go with English. And then we want to download updates while installing Ubuntu, but I don't care too much about this third-party software. If there's something on there that I want to install, then I'll install it myself. Feel free to choose that if you want, but it will make your installation a bit longer. So hit continue. And this erase disk and install Ubuntu, don't worry. It's not going to erase anything on your actual machine. It's only the VM. Do not worry. Hit install now. Hit erase disk. It's fine. And then hit continue again. And then just choose where you are. If you click on the map, it will tell you where you are. I'm happy with London. And then it will come up here to your keyboard. Again, English UK. It should pick it up wherever you are. There's a lot of choices here. And we'll go there. And now we want to just enter our details. So I'm going to do Udemy as my name, and then just choose a password. And this will be like also your root password as well. So just please make sure you remember this. And we want to make sure we require my password to log in. And we will hit continue. So now it's going to install the OS. Again, this takes a bit of time. So I've skipped it, and once it's done, it's going to just say restart now. And just sort of sort all the configs out for us. So once that's done, you'll get into this screen, hit enter. So this now is our machine, which is great. But it's not the installation fully done because there's a few of the little tweaks that we need to do. The first thing that I want to do is here go to import on the top, drag down to insert guest edition CD. So this is going to make our screen big, full screen. When hit run, when that pops up, you might get asked for your sudo password, which is the password you just put in. And that will go off and install, takes a bit of time. And as you can see now, my machine's gone to full screen, and that's what the guest edition really does. It's really good like that. We'll close that window now because we no longer need it. And I'm just going to do a couple more things, a little bit of cleanup here. I was going to get rid of some of these things from the side because, again, I just don't like it. Don't need it. You feel free to do this if you want to. If you don't need to, it's okay. And if you hit this little icon here, top left, and just type terminal, so that's going to be our main terminal, main workstation. And what I just want to do is sudo apt-get update -y, which means we're just going to update the system. We did do an update before on the install, and that will do it there. And that is it. That is how we install our Ubuntu virtual machine. So there you go. I just want to say thanks for watching this first video. Hope you enjoyed the course. We're going to install a few more things next, like VS Code, install Terraform, and then we're going to go into the nitty-gritty and get everyone up to scratch, advanced to beginner. So thank you very much. See you on the next one. Hi everybody, and welcome to this video. And today we'll be installing VS Code, which is going to be our code editor of choice throughout the course. So let's get started. So first thing I'm going to do is just open up a web browser. It can be any web browser of your choice, and I'm just going to type in Visual Studio Code. Okay, and let's let that load off and scroll down. And what we want is this one here, code.visualstudio.com. And let's go there and let's hit that .deb because I'm running on Debian. If you're on Red Hat, you can go with that the other one there. And let's scroll down and let's save this file. Let's open it and let's download it. Okay, great. So it's very, very easy to download. Like I've said there, I've just downloaded the package, and I've gone over here to my Ubuntu software installer, and let's hit install. Okay, so that's going to go off install. You might need to authenticate, so this is just the password that we used when we created the virtual machine. And let's let that install. Okay, great. So that's already there. Now, if you hit the top left button here, we can type in code or Visual Studio, and what we'll get is the icon, and there it is. So let's click on that. And let's get it loading up for the first time. So this is what Visual Studio Code looks like. I'm going to right click and lock it to launcher there as well, just so it's nice and easy to see. and we can get rid of that. And let's get rid of this welcome page. We don't necessarily need it. This is Visual Studio Code. And I'm going to hit this button here called extensions because there's a few things I want us to install.
Okay, and here what we're going to do, we're just going to type Docker. And we're going to click the first one here. And what we're going to do there is install it. Okay. And that's going to give us the syntax. It's going to give us all the autocomplete. And it's a great package. We'll install a few more after this, but this Docker one is the main extension that you really want to get.
Okay, now let's go back and let's type a few more in. So we want Bash. There's some good ones you can get: Bash, Terraform, Ansible. So this is just the same process. We'll install this Bash one. What Visual Studio Code is really good with as well is themes. So I'm going to type in OneDark Pro, which is actually a theme from another code editor called Atom, and I really like this theme, so I'm going to install it over here. This one's a bit optional. You don't necessarily need to do it, but if you right click there, hit install, and you might need to reload. And with the themes, if you hit File, Preferences, go down there to Color Theme, you can then just choose whichever one you want. So I like this OneDark Pro one. Cool. So that's VS Code, that's how to install it. And I just want to show you how things are linked. So if I'm see whatever directory I'm in, and I can make a random folder here, I can call it whatever I want. I can call it Terraform, I can call it anything. And if I go over to VS Code and I open a folder, I can choose that folder, and we can kind of see how they're linked as a file structure and how you'll be editing the same files. So there's nothing obviously in here, but that is the workspace. So if I right click here, make a file, call it test.txt, and put anything there, doesn't really matter. And I go back now to my terminal and just do an ls on that folder. You'll see it's there. So that's just showing you that the folders are linked and how you can be working in different places. But that's it. That's how you install VS Code. Let's carry on and start installing Git.
Hi, and in today's video we're going to be installing Docker. So this is the one we really want to get into, and let's try and get that package installed. So you can see I'm opening my web browser here. I've also got my terminal ready because we are going to be running a few commands. So let's minimize that and go to Google here. You can just use any web browser, and I'm going to put in there install Docker, and I'm going to put Ubuntu because the virtual machine I'm running on is Ubuntu. And let's just click here. And what you can see, you can run just an apt-get install Docker, but I think it's cool to see the packages and the different ways of doing it. So what we're going to do, we're going to scroll down. That's to uninstall, but obviously we haven't got it yet. So here you go, we're going to do the one that says install using the repository. And you can see there's about 4 or 5 steps. It seems crazy, but I wouldn't worry about it. We're just going to follow it here, set up the repository, and we're going to run through it. So the first one is the sudo apt-get update. I'm going to paste that in. I'm going to add a little -y on the end for that. And that is just to say yes, because without that it's going to ask if we want to install the packages, but we definitely do. So that one's done, nice and easy. I'm going to go back, and we're literally just going to go through it one by one and just install everything that the documentation says. The documentation from Docker is really good. So if you get something like this, it's because there's a lock file, and all it means is you've just got to just remove the lock. Hopefully you won't get this. I get it a few times in this. I think it's because I was trying to update the whole system before. So I've just removed that lock, and I've just rerun the command, and as you can see, it's done it perfectly fine. Then we want to install the Docker key, so let's paste that in. And as you can see here, when I've copied that, I've actually got the $. So let's just remove that and run that in. And when you come that response that says OK, that's exactly what you want. What you can do here is run this apt key fingerprint, and what that's going to do is verify that the fingerprint that we've just got down is the one from Docker. But we don't necessarily need to do that. We're going to carry on, and we're going to add the repository in, paste it in, and run it. So that's good. And let's go back. And now what we want to do is do another update. We're doing another update because we've just added a new repository for Docker. So let's rerun that. Let's add the -y. So we've updated, and you can see at the bottom there, I've actually got to download docker.com. That's because we've now got that Docker repo. Finally, I want to install all of these packages. And let's paste that in. I'm going to put the -y on the end again. And I get this little annoying lock file. I think I get it twice here. So If you get it, just remove it as it says. I'm just doing an RM, getting rid of it, rerun the command. I think I get it again. Just remove it again. Hopefully you don't get this when still running it. And as you can see, I've installed the packages perfectly fine there. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to type docker -- version, and it says docker version, so that's great. And I'm going to type docker as well. And if you see something like this, it's the list of the commands, and that's basically it. We've installed Docker. Okay, so now we've got Docker installed, got our VM up and running. Let's actually run something with Docker. So what I've done here, I've gone to the Docker documentation, hub.docker.com, and I found a Docker container called whalesafe. So it's kind of like a Hello World application. And as you can see there, it's got the command there, how to use this image. And what we're going to do is we're going to copy that. And where it says boo at the end, that's actually what the text field's going to say. So we're going to copy this. Going to go back over to our terminal, and we're going to paste it in, okay? And you can run sudo on it if you want, and let's hit paste and run it. So it's going to ask for my password. And you see that it says unable to find that image locally. When that happens, that's fine. It's actually just going to download it for you. So it's downloaded it for me, and you can see there it's come up with the container. It says Bill on it. And if I just tab up to that command, I can change that at the end, and I can put whatever I want. I can put Udemy DevOps, or I can put Udemy, for example. So if I hit run, I'm going to get the same response, but the text is different. So this is just an example of us running a Docker container. It's our first Docker container. It's our Hello World application. I'm going to run it again here. So yeah, that was it. That says how easy it is to run a container. Find the documentation, find the container you want, hit run. That's the beauty of Docker. So yeah, see you in the next one. Hi, and welcome to today's video. And today we're going to go straight into the deep end. You can see here I'm on the Docker Hub under Nginx, which is a popular sort of web server, can be used as a reverse proxy as well. We're going to be doing a variety of commands today. I'm not going to be going into everything in depth for this one, because we're going to break it down into videos coming up. You can see there, hosting some simple static content, exposing ports, and we're going to be doing something like this. So we're going to go pretty crazy with this one. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to come over to my terminal, and I'm in just my home directory here. I've got a directory here called Docker, and I'm going to make a directory in there called websites. Nice and simple. I'm going to jump into that directory, and what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to make a blank file, right? So let's touch a file, index.html. We're not going to put anything in the file. It's just a blank file. Okay, I've just done an ls there so we can see it. Nothing to it, okay? So what we're going to do now is I'm going to change the permissions on that. So I'm going to do chmod -r o-rx, o-r, o plus rx, that could be, sorry. And what we're going to do is we're going to do that chmod on home Udemy Docker website. So it just can change all the permissions basically. So you can do that as well if you wish. So what we're going to do now, this is where we're going to get a little bit in depth. So we're going to do a sudo docker, yeah, run. So we're going to run a container, -it, which is interactive terminal, -v for volume. Like I said, we are going to go through all of this in different videos. Home, Udemy Docker. So this is just basically where I am, websites, index, where that index file lives, in that websites folder, :/user, /share, /nginx. And essentially what we're doing there, we're mapping one directory to another. But again, we're going to go through all of this in a volume video coming up. And once we've done that, we're going to do HTML on the end of that. :ro, --rm, -d, -p, port 8080, :80, --name. And we're going to call it web. Nginx, and we're going to run this. So this is quite a hefty command. We're going to run it in, and what it's come out with is a hash, which is fine. But if we go to our web browser now, and we go to http://localhost, on port 8080, I'm going to get a blank page, which is great. That's actually what we want to see at this rate. So what's happened is it's looking at that index file that we've just run. So what we can do is we can look at that index file and we can via it, and we can edit this file to put some really basic HTML in there. So I'm just going to put some HTML in there. To start with, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a header. So that's the thing that you would see like on the tab. So if you can follow this, or you could put your own basic hello world like that in there. So I'm just putting some HTML tags in. HTML, just so we know. And what we're going to do is we're going to open another one. I'm going to have the head for header. I'm going to close it just so I don't forget. And in there, let's put some text. Let's put a title. And let's put in there hello world. Cool, and we'll close that title one as well. Now that we've got it open, we've got to close it. I'm going to save that page. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my page, refresh it. You can see at the top there it says hello world. That's because it's reading from that index.html now. This is our own Nginx Docker container. We've not had to install Nginx. We're running the container. The container's doing everything for us. And if I go back to the terminal via the HTML index again, I can put a body in there. I can put some text in there. We can put anything we want in there. It's just an example of using Docker to host static websites with Nginx, and how really quick it can be. So I'm going to put some paragraphs in there. That's what the P is. We can put welcome to our Nginx Docker tutorial. Cool. And let's save that. Go back, refresh, boom, and there it is. So this is a really quick example of how we can get a Docker container from the Docker Hub, use the documentation, and set up our own static web server with our own static website really, really quick. Cool. Hi, and welcome to today's video. And today we're going to be talking about how to check your Docker images, see what's running, and see what has been running. Okay, so you can see here I'm at my command prompt. I'm just going to type Docker. If you just type Docker, it's going to tell you all of the commands that are available. You see there's one called PS, which is list containers. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to type Docker space PS and hit enter. You can see here the container that was running for me was the Nginx container that I had in a video a few videos ago. Okay, so that's great. It says that that's up. It was created a few minutes ago. Perfect, right? There's another command that you can run, Docker PS -a. The -a stands for all, and this shows containers that were both running and both that have been closed. So you can see they've got a few containers exited days ago, some from months ago. So this is just a really, really quick way, get you up and running with the command line. How can I check what's running right now? How can I check what was running? And Hi, and welcome to today's video. Today's video is going to be another nice and easy one. It's continuing running through the Docker commands. Today we're talking about Docker stop. So you can see that I've got a Docker PS, I've got a Docker container running. I've done a PS -a as well, just to see what I previously had. So this container that I've got there, I want to know how am I going to stop it? It's running. I don't want it to run. It's taking up my memory, or maybe I've got something wrong. So if I type Docker stop, and I take that container ID there that I got from the PS, I can even take the name as well, so both are applicable, but I'm going to take the container ID. I like to take the container ID. I'm going to paste it in there. I'm going to enter, and it's going to return me the container ID as well. So now if I did a Docker PS, nothing showed. I've successfully stopped that image running, and it literally was as simple as that. It's a great command. If I do a PS -a, you can see now that it's totally gone, which is perfect because I don't want it there. So that was pretty much it. That's how you stop a Docker container. Literally Docker stop and the container ID. Hi, and welcome to today's video. Today we're talking about how to list all of the images that we've got for Docker. So if I type Docker again, like I said, it's going to give us the list of the applicable commands. You're going to see there's going to be one there called images, and the description is list images. So that's exactly all we want to do, right? So we're going to type there, Let's come down and type docker space images. And that's going to show me all of the images I've got on my machine. Doesn't matter if I made them a year ago or I made them a few minutes ago, but that's how I see what images I have. And it's great because I can see the size as well. I can see if that image is too big, maybe I want to get rid of it. But Docker images, it's a nice and simple way just to see what images you have for containers that are readily available on your machine. Hi, and welcome to today's video. And today we're going to be removing images, we're going to be removing containers. So let's get it going. So I'm going to type Docker again. I'm going to bring up the list of available commands. And let's have a look at what we've got here. So you can see there is one there called RMI, remove one or more images. Okay, so if I type Docker images, I can see that I've got this one whale say, it was for hello world purposes. I don't really want it. 247 megabytes. It's not really needed on this machine anymore. So if I did Docker RMI, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the image ID, I'm going to copy that, paste it in. So this is actually going to give us an error, and I'll show you why. So that says I can't delete the image because it's actually being used by a stopped container. So, okay, and it even gives us the container ID there. So the way to get around this, so you can't delete that image if it's still being used by something. So if I did a docker ps -a, you can see I've got two containers using that whale say image. Even though they're exited, months ago, I still got to clean it up if I want to totally remove it from my system. So I'm copying the names on the right. Usually we've done the container ID, but today I'm going to do the names. I've done a docker rm, the name, copy and paste it in. Docker tends to give you like funny names of randomized words, which is really funny. So we've removed both of those, done a ps -a. You can see now I've got nothing there that uses that whale say container. So now what I can do is list my images again. Now if I did my RMI on this image, I should be able to get rid of it. So if I did docker space RMI and the image ID, hit enter, you can see that it's deleted and it's got quite a few bits, and that's because that container might have been made up of different bits. And now when I did a docker images, you can see I don't have it. So that's exactly the way to remove an image, also to remove a container that might be hanging around on. Hi, and welcome to today's video, and today we're going to be talking about Docker pull. So Docker pull, it's just a way of pulling images down. So if I did a Docker images here, you can see I've got the Nginx one, I've also got one called Minikube. If I did a Docker PS, I've got nothing running. If I type Docker pull, it's going to sort of give me a little bit of help on to say, what I want to do. It says pull an image or a repository from a registry. Okay, so it kind of tells me what I need to do. We're going to use one today called Debian. So if I did Docker pull and then the container and the image I want, which is Debian, I haven't specified a tag or anything. You can see there it says it's pulled the latest and it's downloaded that totally for me. If I did a Docker images, you can see now I've got that Debian one. It's the latest tag. I've got my image ID. It was created 2 weeks ago and it's a size of 114 megabytes. And that was literally it. Pulling images down is literally as simple as that, and it's one of the beauties of Docker. We can do anything. We can pull, Apache 2 if we really wanted to, Tomcat. We can do whatever we want. But that was a quick and easy way of doing it. Hi, and welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be talking about Docker exec, which is going to allow us to run an exec onto a running container. So you can see I've got a Docker PS, nothing running, Docker images. I'm actually going to paste in a command that we ran right at the start. So feel free to pause this and type it in. I'm going to run this container. The reason I've chosen this one because I know it's going to run in the back. So if I did a Docker PS, you can see I've got my Nginx container running there. Nice and easy. I can go to my web browser and run it because it's just the same one from before. Okay, now if I did Docker exec, you can see here, run a command in a running container, requires a couple of arguments, and how to use it as well. So let's go through how to actually get onto this. I'm going to copy the container ID, and I'm going to type Docker exec, paste in the container ID, and I'm going to type cat etc hosts. So what that's done is it's gone onto that container and run a command. Okay, so pretty cool. All right, so we've execed onto it, ran a command, and we've got the output back, and it was literally as simple as that. And what I can, we could do that with Docker files. We can do that with anything. We can put this type of thing in there. We can do anything really. If I could type echo hello world, and we'll get it back. In a few videos time, we're going to show about how we can get onto the container in an interactive manner. But this is just a quick way to show you how to run a command on a running container. Hi and welcome to today's video. Today we'll be talking about Docker tags. So you can see here I've on the Docker Hub and I've just gone to the Redis page, which is an open source key value store. It shows you there how to pull it, but it's also going to show you a bunch of information about tags that it supports. So these public containers that are on the Docker Hub, they'll be built constantly. You can click the tags button here and you can see a massive list of what types of tags that they have. There'll be historical ones, there'll be and if you don't supply a tag, it'll always go to latest, by the way. You've got Buster, you've got 6.222, and it will go through and it will do so much, and there's so many tags available. But what we could actually do is, rather than getting the latest one, we can choose to pull down a specific tag. So I'm going to just copy that tag there, and I'm going to do Docker, just to get my list of commands up, so I can sort of go through what we're going to do. And let's have a look at run, okay? So let's do Docker run, Redis, and the way to denote that you're going to use the tag is with the colon, the full colon, okay? You can see that I've gone for 622 as well. If we didn't put anything, it would give us latest, like I said, okay? So let's go back, and let's put colon, and let's paste it in. Oh, it definitely didn't paste what I wanted to, so let's just get rid of that. And it was 622, and I've got another typo there, so let me just get rid of that. And let's run that in. So it's going to say, look, you haven't got this one locally, which is fine, and it will pull it down for me. And essentially what we've done there is we've pulled down a tagged version of a Docker container straight from the Docker Hub. If your company is testing on a specific version of Tomcat 7 or a specific version of ActiveMQ, you can pull containers down that support that. You can make your own containers from that, and you can kind of build off that. So it's good that that type of historical versioning is available for us. And if you do a Docker images there, that Redis one there doesn't say latest, it actually says 622, which is the tag that we pulled down. So I can pull down multiple Docker containers for Redis. I can pull down every single one if I really wanted to, and I can use them and test them. And that's where those real-world scenarios can come into. You can test on one version of Redis and test on the next one, and you can bring in that CI/CD. So that's how you pull down containers on a specific tag. Hi, and welcome to today's video. So today we'll be talking about running something in interactive mode. It's something that you might not use a lot, but I just thought I wanted to show it. So I'm going to use a container that I know is going to ask us for prompts. So if I did Docker run -IT for interactive terminal, and I'm going to supply a container that I know is when we run it, it's going to ask us for a prompt, and it's going to give us that interactive experience. So let's just type that in. It's code cloud. Code cloud is with a K, not a C. And we're going to do /simple -prompt -docker. So you can go to the hub and look at that code if you really want. So it's going to say, look, I haven't got it locally. It's going to pull it down. And you can see that it says, welcome, enter your name. So we're on that container interactively, and I can put whatever I want there. I can put Docker, and it says, hello and welcome. And we're actually inside that container. I'm no longer, my terminal on my VM. I'm actually inside that container there with that -IT, and that was the real difference there. We can run it again and, put whatever we want there as our name, and it's just a really good way of showing you how we've actually gone into that container. The Docker run there, it tells us the usage, running the command. So it's something that we went over previously. So what I'll do is I'll run it again and hit enter. This time it won't say, I haven't got the image, because I have it now, testing. So yeah, so this is a way of running something interactively. We've jumped on it, it's running the command, and we're there. Hi, and welcome to today's video. So today we're talking about Docker exec again. But we're going to do it in a bit of a better way, and I think this is a way most people will use Docker exec. So it's a bit more of an advanced way of what we've done before. So I'm going to run a container, Docker run, code cloud, and let's do web app. So it's going to say, look, I haven't got it locally, pull it down. That's cool. And you can see there, and what I've done is I've gone into a new tab. I can see that container's running, and I've done Docker exec minus IT, right? And I'm going to put the container ID, and it's going to say, do you know what? I need one more option. So we've kind of got to give it a shell, something that it can run against, basically. So we're going to do a space /bin/sh for shell. And what we've done there now is we're on the container itself. So I can do any command that I want. I'm on this container, I can run a ps-ef, I can see that's running an application. And this is the real way I think a lot of people are going to be using Docker exec. Getting container, get it running, jump on, mess around, tweak the Docker files, tweak your commands, and really get it running. And it's very, very powerful. It's the way most people use Docker, by jumping on it and seeing what's going on. It's the more advanced way, but it's really quick and easy to do. Hi and welcome to today's video. Today we'll be talking about Docker and port mapping. So port mapping is a way of mapping the container's port to your local machine, and exposing that port so you can kind of see what's going on. So if I do Docker run codecloud /web app, and let's kind of see what it gives us. Yep. So instead of running it, what we're probably best to do is do -p. That stands for port. And let's do 80:5000. So the 80 is the port of my local machine. The 5000 is of the container. So I know that this app, so when we've run it before, it says, I'm going listening on port 5000, but that means nothing to our local machine. So what we've done is we've mapped port 80 on our local machine to port 5000 in the container. So when we run this, we should be able to go to our browser and see what's going on. So I've run this now, it says I'm running on 5000. That's what the actual application's running on, but we've mapped port 80 in my local machine to that port. So now if I go to localhost, I should be able to see that application because it runs by default on port 80 as well. You see there, get something that says welcome. So that's an example there of port mapping. The container itself, it only listens on 5000, but we've mapped port 80 to that 5000 on our local machine, and got it running. We can do this multiple times, on different ports. If I did 81 instead of 5000, and run the same container, the web app one, get it running. So it says, look, I'm listening on 5000, which is the local for that container. But if I go to localhost port 81, I should see the page because I've mapped that port from that container to my local machine. Again, this is something that's really, really powerful. If you've got web apps running, you can have 6 or 7 web apps running at the same time. You can run transactions through, you can do this, you can do that. And it's a real good way of getting containers running multiple times on different ports. It's the same service, but it's a way of kind of getting that testing going. So like if I get another tab here and do a Docker PS, you can see you've got 2 containers and it tells you the port. It's saying port 80, 81, both going to 5000. And what I'm going to do as well, just to clean up, I'm going to stop these containers just to kind of clean up the memory. Do a Docker PS now, and it's all gone. So that was a really quick guide to port mapping. Hi and welcome to today's video on Docker volumes. So in one of the really early videos, we kind of touched on it. But what we're going to do is going through it in a bit more detail, a bit more depth. So I'm going to run a command here, docker run MySQL. So this is a container. Just going to pull it straight down. And if you run that, the kind of logs will be gone. Like you don't really know you stopped the container. The logs, not going to be there. But what if it's important and you kind of want to see them? What you can do is map your local file machine to the container. So anything that goes into those folders, you kind of get a copy of it. So I'm going to make a directory here and I'm going to call it test logs, just for example. And I'm going to make a file here, hello. This is just an example, okay? So if I type now docker run -v for volume, what you want to put in there is the path to your local machine. So this is the syntax and then the container path, okay? And what we're saying is anything on my local path, map it to the container, okay? And then you want to put the container name at the end, right? So I'm going to print my directory just to so I kind of know where I am, so I don't mess up the path. So if I do docker run -v, let's get that local path, paste it in. I'm going to make sure we get our test logs folder in. And then we're going to do the path of the container. So we're going to put the colon. So I know that the logs on this MySQL one are var log. So it could be like var log Tomcat, for example, if you're doing it on Tomcat. Yeah. So let's do the Tomcat one. Yeah. So let's run that down, and the Tomcat's going to start up. Cool. So that's Tomcat running. That is actually kind of the output of the Tomcat log as well. So I'm going to open a new terminal. We've got Tomcat running in the back. And let's do a Docker PS. So we can see I've got a Docker container running of that Tomcat. We'll use the one that's from 20 seconds ago. Yep. And what we want to do now is we want to jump onto it, and we can kind of see what we have. So in my test logs, like I said, I've got that hello. So if I did docker exec -it, the container name, space /bin/sh. So that's going to get us onto the container, right? So if I did an ls now. So if I go to that varlog Tomcat, we should see that hello file. So you can see that hello text is there, right? So now any logs that jump into this folder from that Tomcat, if we get any error logs or whatever, they'll come into that folder that's on my local machine. I can make a file here, for example. I'm going to do hello2.txt. This is just to simulate a log that will get in there from the container, right? So I'm going to just put something into that file as well, just so we can kind of verify it on the other end. So this is to simulate a log's gone in. It's in this folder. I just catted it just to make sure. And if I jump out of this container now, and if I list my test logs folder, I should see the two files. So what we've done there is we've kind of persisted that folder. It's really good for logs, basically. If you've got any other application files you want to kind of persist, or you want to have that one-to-one mapping, this is the way to do it with these volumes. You can make them persistent. You can mess around with them. You can have the sync going as well, which is really, really good as well. So that was how you do a Docker volume on a running container. Hi, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about Docker inspect. This is another one of the Docker suite of commands, and it's quite a simple one, but it really allows you to dig into the containers and see what's going on. So I'm going to run a container here. So let's run Tomcat, and let's let it kick off, and just do all its start process. And I'm going to open a new tab to get a new terminal, and let's run a couple of commands. So if I did Docker PS, I'm going to run that to get the container ID. Then if I do Docker inspect on that container ID, you can see I get all of this information come back. This is all of the information you ever need to know about a container. It will tell you pretty much everything: paths, host names, log paths, everything you need to know. It's really good if you want to dig into and debug your containers, or find information, or if you want to map volumes. You can use the inspect without having to exec on to try and get some of that key information. So that was Docker inspect. Sorry, I'm gonna stop this container so I don't have it running and eating up my memory. But that's pretty much it for Docker inspect. Hi, and welcome to today's video. Today we'll be talking about Docker logs. So we're going to set this up quite simple. We're going to run our Tomcat container like we've been doing before in the background. And the Docker logs command, it runs exactly like the inspect one. You're going to get the container ID and run Docker logs and then the container ID. And it kind of does what you'd expect. It shows you all of the logs that have just come out of that container. So I've run my container here and I've typed Docker logs and I've got the container ID. And essentially what's printed out here is the last section of logs that have been pumped out from that container. So because we've just done startup, that's all we're seeing at the moment. But if you were doing some heavy, in-depth application work, this would be constantly going. So Docker logs is a real good one to see the logs that are going on a running container. Hi, and welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be talking about Docker environment variables. We're going to be using a container that allows us to change our environment variables, and I'll run through that now. So if we do docker run -p for port, we're going to map a port 80 to 8080. And then the container is going to be called mmumshad /simple-web app-color. Okay, so we're going to run that. I don't have it locally, so it's going to pull it down. and inside the container it says it's on 8080, but we've mapped it to 80. So if I now go to localhost on my machine, you can see I've got a red page here, or ready orange page, and it says, hello. Cool. So that's great. So that's how we know we've got the container set up right. So that's cool. Right, now if we go back to the terminal here, what we're going to do is we're going to inject our own sort of variables, okay? So I'm going to just Control-C out of this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tab up, so I've got the command back. I'm going to go over to just after where we did the port, and I'm going to put -E. -E is for environment variable. And this container allows us to put a variable of app color. And I'm going to do app_color is equal to blue. I'm going to hit run. I'm going to let it go. And then if we go back now to our browser, we'll see it as a different color. And what I'm going to do here actually is I'm going to copy this. I'm going to open a terminal, and let's get a couple going. So let's paste that in. We'll change the color. We'll probably need to change the port as well. So let's change that to green. Let's change this port to 81. So we've got two running. One blue, one green on different ports. So if I refresh the first one, it's blue. And if I go to the second one on port 81, we should see it in green. Cool. So this is just a way of us showing how we've used an environment variable using the -E parameter to understand how we can inject environment variables if our container allows us to. Another thing that we could do, so if I did a docker ps -a, I can see I've got these containers that are running. We can use the docker inspect command, and that will actually show us the environment variables. So in the previous video I said, we can use docker inspect to get loads of information, but here's a good example of that type of information you can get. So there will be a section in here called environment variables somewhere, so we've just got to dig it. So there you go, that env. So those are the ones that we can change, essentially. And those are the ones that we've put in. So that was a real quick way of showing you how to use a -E parameter for environment variables, and a real world example as well. Hi, and in today's video we'll be talking about Docker files. So the Docker file is a way of automating the creation and build of a Docker container that we can then use. So say I'm in my Docker folder, and I'm going to make a directory here. I'm going to call it my first Docker file, nice and easy. I'm going to go into that directory, and I'm going to make a file called Docker file with a capital D. It has to be like that, okay? So just make note of that syntax. And at the moment, we're now going to make use of VS Code, something that we've not really used all the time. So in my Docker file, I'm going to type from. So from is essentially where the base image is coming from, and it kind of tells you here, because we installed that plugin, it's going to tell us. So we can do a variety of images here, and it will even tell us which ones are available. So I'm going to type from Ubuntu, and then I'm going to give it a label. So the syntax I'm here with all the caps for those ones that are in blue is exactly how you have to have it, okay? So, this is to set some metadata onto the image, and I'm going to do maintainer equals DevOps Udemy. So this is just like a way of tagging it to say I'm the creator of this, and it's a good thing to have. Run is the next one we're going to use. So this is a command to run, execute commands inside a shell. So I can say apt update Y, update all the packages once this container comes up. I can tell it to touch a file, and you can see here we can run these commands to try and build up an application within the container. We can run 4 or 5 commands, 10 commands. It doesn't matter how big you want that container to be. So we'll make a file, echo hello world into that file. What else could we do? We can do anything here. Really, let's just do another one to change the permissions on that file. So basically, we're making it into a script. That's what we want to do. So what I've done here is I've made a container from Ubuntu, I've given it a tag, and I've run a bunch of commands. This is essentially a bespoke container now that we have. So I'm just going to save that. I'm also going to put in an entry point, and that's bash. And it's basically saying, like, what do you want it to run? So I when it turns on, I want it to run my hello world script. I want it to be at that point, go to that container, go to that bit. It's a really good way to do it. And then finally I want to do command, which is my executable. Yeah, and I'm going to say run it with bash. Right, so our entry point is in the bash shell, go to that hello world script, and the command that we want to run is for bash. Okay, so this is a really basic Docker file, but it's going to get you introduced to the techniques. The next thing we need to do is build it. So we're going to do docker build -t. The -t is to give it a name, essentially. So I'm going to call this DevOps / first app. And then after that, you want to put the path to the Docker file. So wherever that Docker file lives, that's where you want this next section to be. So you could put a fully qualified domain path, but because I'm in this folder, I'm just going to put a dot. And you can see here now it's trying to build, and it's failed, and it says I cannot access hello-world.shh. So I've definitely made a typo. So you see here on line 8, typo there. So I'm going to save that, go back to the terminal. I'm just going to rerun the command, and it will pick up from where it failed. It will go straight to step 6. So it's doing the entry point. So it says successfully built, successfully tagged as well. So it's tagged it on latest because it's the first one. So that's really, really good as well. And if I do now Docker images, you can see there I've got my own Docker first app. This is made by me. It's my image. We can use this image. We can run this container, provided we've not made any mistakes. If I did Docker run, and I take the image name, copy that, paste that in, hit run. So it's got a typo. No, it's got an error. So okay, so it says command not found. So I think our echo statement into that Docker file was wrong. So let's jump back into VS Code and just quickly fix that. I think we need 2 echoes at this part here. So what I'll do is I'll go back into VS Code, and I will quickly amend that. So here on line 7, we're going to do echo twice actually. So we're going to echo hello world into that. So what we'll do is rebuild it. It's going to build. Cool. We can do a Docker images. So I've just run a Docker run because I know what the name is. And there you go, hello world. That is our first Docker file. We've built it, our own image, and we're running it. And essentially, that's all we need to do. In the next video, what we're going to do in part 2 is we're going to condense this, make a script, and get it going. Hi, and welcome to today's video. Today we'll be taking the Docker file we built in the previous video, and we're going to try and make it a bit more intuitive. We're going to put a few commands in. We're going to make a script, and get rid of those run commands, basically. So I'm going to make a new script here. Let's call it hello-world.sh. So just like a bash file. And what we're going to do in here, we're going to say echo hello world. So this essentially is mimicking all of those run commands that we had from before. And what we can do now pretty much is get rid of them, really. We don't need those run commands now because that script there was touching the file, echoing in there, doing the permissions. But because we have a script already, it's going to pretty much do that for us. So we're going to get rid of those 3. We'll leave the update because, when we get our new container, we're probably going to want to make sure it's updated. So that's fine. I'm going to introduce a new parameter here. And this one is called add. So by definition, obviously, you're going to copy a file from a directory and you're going to put it in on the container. So you're going to provide the source and the destination. So we're going to do hello world.sh because we're in the same directory as the Docker file. And we're going to put that to hello world.sh. We're going to get rid of that CMD. Don't need it. So we've literally just minimized our container in terms of the commands that we've run compared to the previous video. We've really shrunk it down. And this bash script can do anything. Install Nginx, install Apache, make Tomcat web servers, applications, APIs, whatever. We're just using small script here as the example, but you can take this theory and implement it in a million different ways. So we're going to take our Ubuntu container, we're going to rebuild it, and let's see what we get. So it's just like before, we're going to do a Docker build. So and we'll do Docker build DevOps second app, we'll call this this time. The first one was first app. Oh, and so I missed out the -t there, so as well. I've missed out the -t and the path, so we'll put the dot there. Oh, and yeah, so it's going to say you've not got your -t, so Docker build -t, the name, and then the path. So it's going to build it off, and it says, look, successfully built, great. So what we can do now is we can do our Docker images. You can see that I've got my first app, I've got my second app. That was just built a few seconds ago. And if we did a Docker run, and let's take the name of the second app, paste it in, hit enter. So we must have made a mistake. No such file or directory for hello world sh. So it is good to see errors because we want to see what's going on. So what we've done here now is I've just changed the permissions of that file. Chmodded it 777. So previously, obviously, we were doing the change permissions in the container, but if we do that here, we won't necessarily need to do that. So I'm going to rerun. So we've got the same error. So we must have definitely made a typo. And it's there on line 7. You see, I've got hello.sh there rather than hello world. So I'm sure the eagle-eyed people out there would have picked that up. So we're going to save that. Let's rebuild. Let's rerun, and let's see what we get. Rebuild. Perfect. And let's rerun. And there you go, hello world. So what we've done is we've now implemented a script. We've used the add functionality. You could even have add as WAR files, for example, if you've got a Tomcat server. It could be your Java application. It can be your Node application, for example. It could be anything. And another thing that is quite common is swapping out add for copy. They do similar things, and it's really up to you. So copy, again, you've got source and destination. Both are acceptable. I think people tend to go with copy as well, but I wanted to show you both. Yeah, they kind of use the same syntax really. It's got a source, it's got a destination, copy from the source folder onto that container. But that's it. That's how we do Docker files using add, copy, and external scripts. Hi and welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be using a PHP example with volumes for our Docker container. So in my Docker folder here, I'm going to make a directory called PHP. I'm going to cd into that PHP directory, and I'm going to make another one called source, so src. So cool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a file here called index.php. And actually, let's cd into source, and make that index.php, otherwise that's not going to work. So I'm inside source. I've got an index file there. So all I've done there, made a couple of directories and a couple of made a file. And what we've got here at that PHP there, we've got source and we've got index.php. Cool. So that was just that kind of initial setup. So inside here now you can put your PHP or whatever you need it to be. So I'm going to just put in some really, really basic PHP. And I just kind of wanted to show you, use this as an example of kind of like hosting like a static website, for example. My PHP is all it's going to say is, as we've probably seen a few times now, I'm just going to echo hello world into this PHP file. Okay, so I've just get my syntax correct as well. And that looks good to me. Cool. And what I'm going to do now, go back to the terminal. So I've LS'd here, I'm at the source level. I'm in the PHP folder, and at that PHP folder, make your Docker file. It should not be in the same folder as source. It should be above, okay? So let's start building up our Docker file. So again, we're going to pick where we want it to come from. So I know that there's a PHP 7 image out there, so I'm going to use that. And I'm going to say it's going to use the Apache one as well. So you can go to the PHP Docker Hub repo, look at their tags. And what we're going to do is we're going to copy source to var HTML www. Okay, and I think, is that a type? No, we're going to expose port 80 because we're going to use this as an Apache server. Cool. So from the PHP, copying the source folder from source to that directory, and we're going to expose port 80 as well. Cool, so that's the build-up of the files there. Yeah, so var www.html, that should be, yeah. Docker build. -t PHP, and let's do the dot as well. So that's built my image. I already had that image pulled down to save some time. And if I do docker run PHP, that's going to have that there in the background, so that's cool, that's fine. We'll go to our browser now, and let's go to localhost on port 80, and it says unable to connect. So we must have made a mistake somewhere, which is always good. So let's just stop that container now. And let's do docker p port 80. So we're going to expose port 80, but we're going to map the container's port to my port. Okay, let's refresh that. There you go, hello world. So we missed out the port mapping there on our command. Okay, another thing, just remember that you've got that path correct. Where I did that var HTML. And also what we're going to do now, we're going to do something a little bit special as well. So when you're in development, you know, those index files are going to be changed. You don't want to keep building. This is where the volume mapping comes in. So I'm going to volume map my source folder. So let's paste that in. PHP, let's put source on there. And we're going to map that to the directory that we've set up in the Docker file. Yeah. So let's do var /var, sorry, that should be var www HTML. So that should be the same. That var www HTML should be what you've got it in your Docker file as well. So make sure you've got that. Okay, so that's running now. So we're mapping it. If I refresh, it says hello world. Cool, that's great. If I come back to my PHP file, if I change this to changed, save it, refresh, that says change straight away because we've got the volume map. I don't need to rebuild it, and this is great for local dev testing. You know, if you're testing websites, applications, just map the directory, map the volumes, and yeah, that's all I really wanted to show you. So this was another way of getting a quick PHP mini app going with volumes, up and running in Docker. Hi, and if you've made it this far, congratulations, you've made it to the end of the course. We just want to say thank you so much again for choosing this course. I really hope you've got everything you wanted to out of this course. And if you haven't, you know, feel free to send us a message, send us some feedback. If there's anything you want added that you think will help future students, please let us know, and we'll definitely do our best to implement it as fast as we can. It's just really this is really just one for me to say thank you for choosing the course. I hope you got what you wanted out of it, and I hope you're ready now to start using Docker in the real world environment.